You keep telling yourself you moved on. You built a whole story around it. New routines, new boundaries, a version of yourself that looks nothing like who you were back then. And on paper, that story checks out. But here is what you have not said out loud. Every time someone new gets close, you are not actually meeting them. You are measuring them against a silence that hurt you. Against a pattern that broke something in you and never got the apology it deserved. That is not moving on. That is grading everyone against a ghost and calling it standards, quietly hoping no one ever notices the scale is rigged. Capricorn, this reading is not here to comfort that story or make you feel better about the walls you built. It is here to show you, card by card, what is actually ready to leave your body for good, and what is already arriving right behind it, close enough that you can feel the shift before your mind catches up to what is happening. Let it sit for a second. That shift you just felt. That is not random. That is the deck already responding to something you have not said out loud yet. So let's start here, honestly. What exactly are you still protecting? Is it the relationship? Or is it the identity you built inside that relationship? The one who tried harder. The one who stayed reasonable while everything fell apart. The one who kept score of every effort you made quietly, waiting for someone to finally notice. Because death is not asking you to mourn a person again. Let's be clear about that. This card is not predicting an ending in your life. It is not about anyone dying. It is symbolic, not literal, so take a breath. It is about a version of you that has already expired. Still walking around in your chest like it has somewhere to be. So ask yourself if that old role, the over-functioner, the one who earns love through effort, the one who negotiates for basic care. If that role disappeared tomorrow, who would you even be inside a new connection? Would you know how to receive something without proving you deserve it first? Would you know how to rest inside? Affection instead of auditing it for hidden conditions, for silent tests. That is the real question sitting underneath this card, not what you lost. What you are still performing out of pure habit, long after the audience that demanded it ever left the room. Capricorn, you do not need another test to pass. You do not need to earn your way into being chosen this time. Something in you already knows this, and that is exactly why it feels so uncomfortable right now. Because the ending this card is pointing to has already started, quietly, underneath your daily routine. You are just the last one in the room to admit it out loud. And what fills that empty room right after an ending like that is not another person, not yet. It is you, finally turning toward yourself with the kind of attention you have been rationing out to everyone else for years. Picture this. You come home tonight, and instead of collapsing straight into your phone or your to-do list, you actually cook something. Not the fastest option. Something with real ingredients. Something that takes 20 unhurried minutes. You set the table properly, even if it is just for one, and for once, that does not feel sad. It feels like a small ceremony. Like you finally matter enough to plate your own dinner with real care. Maybe it is not food. Maybe it is finally washing the sheets you have been putting off, opening the window. Letting light into a room you have been avoiding looking at too closely. Small, physical, unglamorous acts of care that no one will ever know about but you. This is Empress energy, Capricorn. It has nothing to do with luxury or performance or proving anything to anyone. It is the quiet decision to stop treating your own comfort as something you earn only after everyone else is taken care of first. And here is why this matters so much right now. You cannot recognize real nourishment in another person if you have never practiced receiving it from yourself first. If gentleness still feels foreign in your own hands, it will feel suspicious in someone else's, and you will push it away without even realizing why. So before this reading goes any further, let this be the pause. Let your body slow down. Let yourself be soft in private, where no one is watching, where no one is grading you for it. Because the version of you capable of receiving what is coming is being built right here in these small, unremarkable moments of choosing yourself first. And somewhere in that quiet, something else starts to stir. Not a thought yet, something underneath thought. A tightness that eases in your chest for no logical reason. A held breath you did not know you were holding, finally letting go. You have felt this before, haven't you? That low hum underneath your ribs that shows up before your mind has any evidence to explain it. The one that used to whisper something is off, long before the proof ever arrived. The one you learned to ignore, because trusting it once cost you everything you had left. That is the wound talking. Capricorn, not the card. Because somewhere along the way, your intuition told you the truth, clearly. And you dismissed it in favor of logic, in favor of giving someone the benefit of the doubt one more time, and it cost you dearly. So now you second-guess every quiet knowing before it even finishes forming. You wait for outside proof before you allow yourself to feel anything. You silence your own body because your body was right once, and being right hurt too much to trust again so easily. But here is the shift happening underneath your skin right now. Whether you notice it or not, that same quiet sense, the one that used to warn you of danger, is starting to soften into something else entirely. Not dread this time. Recognition, notice it. The next time your chest loosens around someone's name, the next time your shoulders drop without permission when a certain message comes through, do not immediately explain it away with logic. Your body has already started reading a room your mind has not entered yet. That is not superstition. That is information, stored quietly in the nervous system long before language ever catches up. You do not have to trust it fully today. Just stop arguing with it out loud. Because healing was never going to arrive as one dramatic breakthrough. Capricorn. That is as story movies tell you, not how nervous systems actually work, no matter how much you might quietly want it to be that simple. Think back to what you just did. You started feeding yourself again, slowly, without an audience. Then something quieter woke up underneath that. An intuition you had trained yourself to distrust, starting to speak again in a language only your body understands. Neither of those things happened all at once. They built day by day, small act by small act, without you even tracking the progress consciously. Temperance is what happens when those two things finally stop competing for control. The part of you that nurtures and the part of you that senses are no longer working against each other. One is not overriding the other anymore. You are learning to let logic and instinct sit at the same table, instead of forcing one to silence the other completely, the way you used to before, out of pure survival. This is not about being perfectly healed before anything new can begin. That timeline does not exist, and chasing it will only exhaust you further and delay you longer than necessary. This is about integration. Taking the softness from the Empress and the knowing from the High Priestess and blending them into something sustainable. Something you can actually carry into a new connection without it collapsing the moment real pressure arrives. You are not the same person who walked into that old relationship. You are also not finished changing, and you do not need to be right now. And that is exactly the point. Temperance does not ask for arrival. It asks for the willingness to keep mixing, patiently, until the right balance finally settles on its own, quietly, in its own time. Okay, wait, let me just sit with this one for a second, because that is honestly not what I expected to see land right here. I need you to actually picture this moment with me, because the timing of it is almost unsettling. 5 cards in, and we go from you learning to hold your own hands straight into this, to cups facing each other, matched evenly without effort. This is not a maybe. This is not the vague, could go either way energy I sometimes have to soften for people when a spread feels unclear. This is mutual. This is two people actually choosing each other at the same time, without one of you doing all the reaching while the other just quietly receives. Honestly, Capricorn, I did not expect it to show up this early in the spread. And definitely not this cleanly, right after Temperance. Right after you were still mid-sentence about patience and balance. Here is what this tells me. Whatever version of connection is coming toward you is not going to require you to convince anyone of your worth. It is not going to be one-sided admiration you have to talk yourself into believing. Both cups are raised. Both hands are extended at the same height, at the same time. That symmetry is rare, and it is exactly why I paused just now. I want you to sit with that for a moment before we keep moving. Because your nervous system might try to explain this away immediately. It might whisper that mutual, easy, equal love is simply not something that happens to you. That is the old wound talking again. Not the cards, not the truth. This one is clear. Someone is going to meet you the same way you show up for them. Finally. Let that actually land before we go any further. Now here is where your mind is probably about to do something unhelpful. You are about to see this next card and immediately assume it means waiting longer, being alone longer, maybe even losing what we just talked about before it even arrives. I want to stop you right there because that interpretation is backwards, and I mean that seriously. The Hermit is not punishment for hoping. It is not the universe pulling that connection back out of reach the moment you started to believe in it. This is not a step away from what is coming. This is the step that makes you ready to actually receive it, fully, without flinching, without bracing for it to disappear the moment you relax. Think about it differently for a second. Every time you have rushed into something, before you were fully settled in yourself, what happened? You brought old habits with you. You brought the same anxious checking, the same need to prove your worth immediately, all over again. That is what happens when connection arrives before integration finishes doing its work. The Hermit is asking you to do the opposite of what your fear wants right now. Your fear says go find it, chase it. Do not let quiet time turn into missing out on something real. But quiet right now is not absence. It is preparation, quietly working in your favor. This solitude is not you being left behind. It is you, deliberately, stepping back with a lantern in your hand, reviewing everything you have learned so far, making sure you walk into this next chapter as the version of yourself who no longer negotiates for basic decency. So if things feel unusually still for a moment, do not panic. Stillness before real connection is not a red flag, Capricorn. It is the final rehearsal before the real thing begins. But before we get there, I have to ask you something honestly, Capricorn, because this next card will not let me skip it or soften it. What are you still carrying that you have not told anyone about? Not the story you tell out loud, the composed one, the one where you have processed everything and you are completely fine now. I mean the quiet strategy underneath it. The plan you have not fully admitted to yourself yet. Are you keeping one card close to your chest, just in case? A little bit of information withheld. A little bit of your real feelings rationed out slowly, so that if this goes wrong too, it will not cost you quite as much this time around. Be honest with me for a second. Are you already rehearsing the exit before the relationship has even started, planning your escape route just in case history repeats itself again? That is not protection, Capricorn. That is sabotage wearing a very convincing disguise. Because the very thing you are trying to shield yourself from, getting hurt again, is exactly what you create when you walk in half-hidden, testing before trusting, watching for proof of betrayal. Instead of evidence of safety right in front of you, this new connection did not do anything to deserve secrecy. It has not earned suspicion yet, not a single ounce of it. So why is some part of you already preparing a private exit route? Already deciding what you will not share until you are absolutely certain it is safe. Ask yourself plainly, what would actually happen if you simply told the truth this time, all of it, without holding a piece back as quiet insurance? You cannot build something honest while still carrying a blade meant for someone else entirely. Put it down before you walk any further. And the moment you actually do that, Capricorn, the moment you finally set it down, this is what walks in, not slowly, not cautiously testing the water the way you have learned to over the years. This person arrives with momentum already built in, like they decided something the second they saw you and did not bother overthinking it the way you always tend to. Picture your phone lighting up with a message that has nothing careful about it. No opening line rehearsed 5 times before sending. No cautious editing, no second guessing. Just direct, warm, a little bold. The kind of message that makes you sit up straighter because it clearly was not calculated. Or maybe it is not a message at all. Maybe it is someone crossing a room toward you with intention. Holding eye contact a beat longer than politeness requires. Like hesitation simply is not part of their vocabulary at all. This is Knight of Wands energy, and it is nothing like what you are used to offering or receiving. Slow. Deliberate. Earning trust one careful step at a time. This person knows none of that pacing, and honestly, that is exactly the point of them showing up now. They are not going to make you chase clarity. They are not going to leave you decoding mixed signals at midnight, wondering what anything means. Their interest will be obvious, almost inconveniently so for someone as guarded as you have learned to be over time. So when this energy shows up, and it will, do not shrink it down to fit your old comfort zone. Do not slow it down just because fast feels unfamiliar to a Capricorn. Still, even now, after everything, let someone move first for once. Let someone else carry the momentum while you simply, finally, let yourself be chosen. That is the arc you just walked through, Capricorn. From letting go of who you thought you had to be, to finally standing still long enough for something real to find you without you having to chase it down. You do not need to do anything dramatic with this. No big declaration, no forcing a timeline, no rushing to make anything happen faster than it wants to. Just notice where in this reading your chest tightened, even slightly, even for a second. That is usually where the truth was hiding. If something in here landed, if some part of you quietly recognized itself in one of these cards, drop a single word in the comments below. Your sign, or just a word for how it felt sitting with this. It helps me find you again next time, and honestly, it helps you remember that you were truly seen today, not just watched. You have carried enough alone for long enough. Let this be the version of you that finally, gently gets to be met halfway.